welcome to episode 1 of Slothboxx Bets, a new betting show with our tipster, Matt. Matt, how are we doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. We've got a few picks for this weekend's action. Obviously, we've got a big card over in Saudi, Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, and there's a show over in America as well. What we'll do is start off with our banker. First of all, what's the bet and why?
Yeah, well, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. I'm quite looking forward to this, to be honest. There's no kind of boxing snobbiness for me on this one. For the bet, I've gone for the fight goes the distance. I think fight goes the distance is probably the best bet on this. You've basically got two novices. To be fair to Jake Paul, he's been training now professionally, really as a boxer, or as close to professional as you can for a number of years. So I don't really buy into this thing that Tommy Fury's this kind of step up in terms of technical levels of boxing. There's nothing really we've seen from Tommy Fury which suggests he is kind of levels above him. He's never even done an 8-rounder before professionally. And when you look at them, neither of them look brilliant, but they're not absolutely awful either. There's definitely worse boxers out there than Jake Paul. I think a popular bet would be Jake Paul by knockout, just because he's talking it up so much. But when you look at it, I think given the level they're at, it is probably his toughest fight yet. I think there's a bit of mileage in that goes distance. Because at the moment, you can get anywhere between about 10 to 11 to 11 to 10, so roughly double your money. And I imagine, there's quite a bit at stake, really, for both fighters, particularly Tommy Fury. He's not going to want to, obviously, he's not going to want to lose, but he's not going to want to get knocked out either. So it could be quite a cagey affair, given they're at quite a similar level. So that's why I think, I personally thought if you can get 11 to 10, I think that's actually quite a generous bet. I think that's with Sky Bet at the moment. I'd probably price it around probably about 4 to 6, and it would go the distance. But that's just me. So I think that's a quite solid bet. I don't see Jake Paul knocking out Tommy Fury or vice versa. So that's what I've gone for.
Fantastic. And what was your pick for the long shot?
For my long shot, I've had a look at Alunga Kubo and Badu Jack, which is for the WBC World Cruiser title, which is on the undercard. I think it's fair to say both of them are kind of past their best now. I mean, Makuba's 35, Jack's 39. Badu Jack had a quite baffling and quite bad display, really, against Michelle Popeye Rivera, and he got a kind of split decision there. A lot of people thought it was it should be the other way around. They thought he'd lost that fight, but also I think Makubu, he beat Makunu in his last fight, but again that was a contentious split decision. So although it looks like they're on a good run of form both at the moment, I think the jury's out there really. I think Makubu's rightly been picked as the favourite on the money lines, just a narrow favourite, given how bad Badu Jack looked in the last fight. But he has said there were kind of issues behind the scenes there for that last fight against Rivera, and he was maybe not quite as motivated as he should be. I think he claims his motivation is back up now for this fight, and you'd imagine it would be. And I just got a feeling. I mean, he got the split decision there. I think if he can stay in the fight, keep it close, time Kubo out, and frustrate him, I think if it goes to the cards, I've just got a sneaky feeling he might just get it again. And again, that's 3 to 1 for the decision, which I think is good value. So I'm going to have a small bet on that.
Absolutely, and that was with Bet365 at the time of recording. Now, We are looking for our accumulator bet this week, a treble. Includes the two you've already mentioned. Tell us about the third fight that you've added into your treble.
Yeah, so for the treble, so like you said, I've put those two together, and then the third fight that I've put in there is Subriel Matthias against Jeremiah Ponce, and the bet is for Matthias to get the KO. It's a fantastic fight for the World Super Light at 140. They both really like to come forward. Matthias has got like 18 KOs with his 18 wins, one loss which he avenged. I think it was Pedros Anian. Just an absolute beast of a fighter. Doesn't really do much defensively. Got a bit of head movement, but doesn't have much of a guard. He's quite happy to take a punch, and he just wants to kind of bring the action. Basically, that's what he does. Always got his hands low. Ponce, most familiar to us over in the UK, is the guy who kind of overwhelmed Lewis Ritson. Bit of a shock to some. He also went over to Germany, got a decision against Rico Muller, I think. And more recently, he's had a couple of KOs over there again in Germany. Again, very good fighter, loves to come forward, absolute pass to keep off. So I think it's going to be a really vicious fight. I just don't see it going the distance. But I do think Matthias is just a little bit of a higher level, really, than Ponce. They've got one opponent that they've both fought. I think it was Jonathan Ennis, which is another Argentinian fighter. They both beat them, but Ponce actually got dropped by Ennis, whereas Matthias took Ennis apart, really. So I do think that he's probably just a little bit of a higher level. So I've added that in. I think you can get about 4 to 7 or 8 to 13, somewhere around there, depending on which bookie you use for the KO. So if you add all three together, I think you're looking at about 10 to 1. So obviously, long odds, small bet again, but that's quite a fun, nice one.
Absolutely. And that 10 to 1 was with Bet365, again at time of recording. Now, just to throw one in there, we have a obscure bet of the week as well. A really long shot. Just a bit of fun more than anything, really. Tell us about the obscure bet of the week.
Well, the one really nice thing with the better markets with the Jake Paul fight is just there's so many different types of bets out there that you just wouldn't normally get on a mainstream kind of boxing fight. It's just absolutely huge. A lot of kind of round knockdowns. You can really just play roulette. If you think there's going to be a KO, you can just bet anything really, even down to the minute of a round. But I think just for an obscure fight bet, you're literally looking just something to throw like a pound on or something like that. I thought it's quite a nice one with Sky Bet was for Tommy Fury to be disqualified. Just if it's getting towards the end of the fight, it looks like he's going to lose. His brother's probably going to be there screaming in his face, and maybe just loses his cool and sticks his head in, or something like that. Could be a fun one. Unlikely, but I think for 150 to 1 is worth a pound.
Absolutely. Like I say, 150 to 1. That is with Sky Bet, as you mentioned there. Tommy Fury to be disqualified. Fantastic. Well, what we'll do, Matt, we'll revisit this again next week. We'll get next week's bets and see what the record is after the first week. But thank you very much for your picks this week.
No worries, mate. Nice to speak to you.
And to you. Thanks, Matt.